With bullish sentiment beginning to re-enter the crypto space, a lot of the notable altcoins are beginning to rip to the upside. Tfuel, however, has been stuck in the mud, leaving people wondering, is it over for Tfuel? Could Tfuel potentially join the party at some point in time? In this video, I'm going to take a look at the price action of Tfuel, and I'm going to show you some things that I'm seeing on the chart. I'm going to share some areas of interest that I've been paying attention to. Let's get into the video. And here we have Tfuel up on the daily chart in TradingView, and Tfuel did end up holding this level right back here that I was talking about in my last analysis. I marked it in with this horizontal at 25 cents. Since then, it has pushed off of there and is coming into contact with the 0.236 of the Fibonacci retracement and just slightly hesitating at this point in time. And for the most part, Tfuel's just been stuck in the mud in this sideways range between the 0.236 as well as this horizontal, but it is now approaching that on a higher low as opposed to back here as well as back here. And I do think it's becoming quite probable that Tfuel's getting ready to break up above that. I'll be looking for the daily candle body closure above the 0.236. I'd like to see it close up above there. You know, it can back test it as support. That would be fine as well. And, you know, performing a bit of an SR flip on that level, you know, the former resistance becoming future support. I think that's the likely outcome here. If it does do that, then I think over time it's going to initiate a test at least up to the 0.382, which is coming in at 39.5 cents. And as you can see, it did serve as resistance back in this area here. We also saw price action kind of just hesitate here before thrusting to the upside and hitting that ever so important 0.5, getting a wick up above there. And that's when we saw the last nasty lightsaber to the downside, which, you know, eventually had price action come grinding out down to this horizontal here. But, you know, the rest of the market is beginning to look bullish. We see that Tfuel has been at least holding these levels since it blew its lid back over here. We see Theta, you know, potentially sticking in a bottom as well. I don't see why Tfuel wouldn't follow suit with the rest of the market and eventually start catching some bids once more. So overall looking good from that perspective. I mean, we do see a pretty nasty pullback from this area here. The whole market pulled back during that time. And it's also notable that there was a lot of accumulation going on with Tfuel for a very, very long time. I mean, you can only imagine some of the bags that people were able to build in these areas. And Tfuel was a massive performer when it, I mean, look how parabolic this thing got very, very, very quickly. I mean, lives were changed. Lives were literally changed from anybody accumulating in these zones here. They had to be very, very patient, waiting. But then when the change came, it came very swiftly. And it's not unreasonable to think that once price action hit, like literally, it was somewhere between 30 and 40,000%, that some people are likely going to take some life-changing gains. A lot of people were saying potentially some manipulation around that area too. You know, whatever you want to call it, maybe it was some manipulation, could have been Binance at that point in time. Whales, but just whales in general were definitely taking some chips off the table there to knock price action to the downside. But ever since doing that, Tfuel has not breached this level from the all-time high. So with that in mind, my bias busters to the downside where my bullish bias would fall apart for me. If I can get this chart to cooperate for me here, we'll do something like that. First of all, will be this horizontal here. For whatever reason, if price action pulls back, starts closing below that horizontal at 25 cents, the last line in the sands for me for Tfuel would be this purple liquid zone right here. That has the top side coming in around 23 cents and a bottom side coming in around 21.5 cents. If for whatever reason we saw some candle bodies beginning to close down below that, then I would say that the bears are regaining some selling momentum, and that would start to look dicey inside this chart. I don't think that's what's happening, but those will be my areas of interest for my bias buster. I think what's going to happen here is that Tfuel is going to work its way to the upside and eventually start catching a bid. And you'll see. I mean, when this coin starts to run again, we already know what it's capable of. We already know what it can do. I'm not necessarily saying I'm looking for 30,000% moves. I mean, we'll see what happens towards the end of the cycle. You know, I'll probably be paying attention to some of these algo targets as things move along. As you can see, some of these algo targets are coming in at some pretty high levels here. I mean, we even see the 2.618 coming in around $1.42. But for me, it's level by level, so I won't be entertaining any of that until I see that, you know, there's an uptrend being developed. And when I start seeing some of these other important fib levels getting taken out, like the 0.5, 0.382, eventually the 618 as well. You know, and I'll pay attention to this as price action works its way up. And then re-enters price discovery. That's when I'll be getting really excited for those massive targets to the upside. And hell, it is very much a possibility, but lots can happen between now and then. So we'll pay close attention. But when that time comes and you start seeing Tfuel popping off, 10, 20% a day, I mean, those times are going to come. I mean, even today, a quiet day, it's 5.5%. But when we see that happening, you're going to see a lot of YouTubers covering it again. You're going to see lots of euphoria, lots of excitement re-entering. You'll see also that partnerships and good news starts to go a long ways. During these big pullbacks, typically news doesn't go very far. You'll see partnerships announced. You'll see good news coming out, yet the price action just still continues to sell. And often bigger players that are holding bigger bags will use that positive news to exit their positions. Remember, they need willing participants in the market that are willing to buy their bags off of them. And in some cases, I mean, just imagine how big their bags could have been accumulating back here. And they need to sell into that strength. So typically when things get bearish here, you'll see the good news sold into time and time and time again, because that creates just enough demand for some of these bigger players in order to exit their positions. So whether that's Binance or a market manipulator or just some person that had the foresight to see that Tfuel was going to be Godzilla one day. Actually, Theta's Godzilla, according to Robert Hartley. But it could have been folks as well. It could have been a conglomerate of people that were just unleashing their bags. But you'll see that good news doesn't go very far in bearish price action. But when things start to get bullish here again, from a price action perspective, you'll start to see the news creating a lot of hype again. There'll be a lot of excitement around it. And I typically like to pay attention to projects like this when things do quiet down, when people are becoming skeptical and getting really, really discouraged. And, some folks that got in up here and just got absolutely obliterated as this thing moved to the downside. But it's typically when assets remain quiet. We already know that Tfuel is coupled in with a very good project, Theta. Theta being in the NFT sector, the video stream platform. I mean, I'm sure a lot of you are well aware, even the partnerships that Theta has. At some point in time, a player like this is a coin that I like to pay attention to, especially when everyone else isn't. Anyhow, let's see what happens here in the coming days. I do have a bullish bias here. If the things that I think could take that out would be if the whole market decided to dump, if Bitcoin decided to dump, or some unforeseen event. But if none of that happens, I do think that Tfuel's can start working its way up. Anyhow, thanks so much for coming by, checking out this video. Looking forward to seeing the next one. And until I do, have yourself a powerful day.